Hari Om to everybody. Just as it was announced on the 27th December 2021, we will try to gather as many devotees as possible and then try to share some thoughts on In Quest of God as a part of our in-depth study on the occasion of our beloved Papa's Sannyas Centenary. So we first begin with our holy and all-powerful Ramnam, devotionally charged in Papa's own voice. He says, at the time of chanting, what is important is that we should know that He who is seated within has facilitated everything and is prompting us to chant so that we become closer and closer to Him, which is the first step of maintaining constant remembrance. Hari Om. having made an attempt to quieten our mind with the soothing Ramnam sung by our beloved Papa, we will also try to hear now a beautiful inspiring bhajan, Aaj Meri Binati. In the life of sadhakas, blessings from saints play a very significant role. Why so? They unfold the different facets of spirituality in a unique manner based upon their experiences. So today being the first day, we will try to hear the Ashirvajan of most revered His Holiness Sri Padmanabhan Swamiji Maharaj of Divine Life Society.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Gungurubhyo Namaha Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. My pranams at the holy feet of beloved Papa, Mataji, and Swamiji. My pranams at the indwelling presence in every one of you here. And we have to officially launch year-long Swadhyaya of the book In Quest of God by Pujya Papa. So this is a wonderful decision actually. As seekers, we have to do Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is an important component in the spiritual journey. And Patanjali describes Swadhyaya as Swadhyayatu Ishtadevatas Samprayogaha. Swadhyaya will connect you to your Ishtadevata, will take you to the Ishtadevata. So it is a befitting celebration. So this one year long meditation on this Papa's journey in quest of God. That's a wonderful decision and every seeker has to do it. So I thought of sharing something on that only. So today morning I gone through the book. So I will read some of the sentences of Papa and try to dwell on that. So initially in scriptures also, when we read the scriptures, and afterwards you do the manana, Shravana, manana and nididhyasa. Shravana can be reading and hearing also. So normally when we study a scripture, we have some understanding. Then, or when we hear from a teacher, we understand something. Then you have to contemplate on that. That contemplation we have to do actually. That is called manana. And then we begin to absorb that. So that absorption is called nididhyasana. So this morning I scanned through this book. First I took that chapter, this renunciation. First I took, because it is Sannyas Centenary year. So then this sentence I got. Thou art the sole protector in the world. Thou art the sole protector in the world. Men are deluded when they declare, I do this, I do that. This is mine, that is mine. All, O Ram, is thine, and all things are done by thee alone. So this, men are deluded when they declare, I do this, I do that. This is mine, that is mine. All, O Ram, is thine, and all things are done by thee alone. Thy slave's one prayer to thee is to take him under thy complete guidance and remove his I-ness. We are all seekers. We are all seekers. At least we claim to be seekers. And sometimes we have this prayer in our mind. Bhagavan, to protect me, remove this ego. I want to be your dasa, dasoham. We chant this sloka, dasoham, and all these things. So this is a common prayer. It is not Papa's prayer alone. Every seeker used to make this. At some point of time, all of you might have made this prayer. I know that I have been making this prayer quite long time. So many times I have made like this. So, but Papa says, thy slave's one prayer to thee is to take him under thy complete guidance and remove his idols. There was no other prayer. If that is the only prayer, then it will be heard. That is why Papa says then, this prayer was heard. Ramdas' heart heaved a deep sigh, a hazy desire to renounce all and wander over the earth in the garb of a mendicant in quest of Ram, wafted over his mind. So this prayer was heard, and then Papa took the renunciation. Papa's sannyas was only after he realized that his prayer has been heard. So, the prerequisite for sannyas is a sincere prayer from the innermost part of your heart and a realization of that prayer has been heard by Bhagavan. Only then the sannyas becomes real sannyas. May Papa bless us. Hari Om Tat Sat.
When we are seriously thinking of sharing some thoughts as a part of our in-depth study, certain questions welled up in our heart. So we took it that Papa is guiding us through the questions and prompting us to get an answer. So the first question that welled up is this: life is a combination of pleasure and pain. However, everyone ultimately wants peace of mind. So the question is, do the revelation of In Quest of God help us in achieving the same? We are totally interested only to get this peace of mind at whatever level we are engaged in. So does this book help us? Yes. Yes, it does help. Of course, not a superficial reading. Not even a second reading or a third reading. But a reading with a mind to probe deep into it to get an answer for our question. Otherwise, we will not reach anywhere. It will be treated as a travelogue. It's a narrative of Papa's experience. Whereas Papa wanted, the very purpose of his writing this book must be that every one of us who goes through this book gets fully charged with the theme, and they will be able to eke out or chalk out a viable, feasible method by which they also can try to reach the height. Anyway, first, with this background, when we go through this, what comes first is, you go through the first chapter. What are the lines? First chapter, first a few words. For nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of cares, anxieties and pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. In this utterly helpless condition, full of misery, where is relief, where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. We are talking about the need for peace of mind, exactly that has been portrayed here by Papa's own words. Oh, if that be the case, how do I get the answer? You go back to the 37th chapter, which is the end of the chapter. And what does he say that? The last line of the 37th chapter reveal the transformation of the same individual to a peaceful state when life has been totally surrendered to God. He says in the 37th chapter, last line, Ramdas stays by Ram's command in a cave called Panchpandava cave, that is near Mangalore, on the Kadri hill, and lives there. This is very important, please hear. A serene life, devoting his whole time in talking about, meditating on, and writing of the all-loving and glorious Ram. That means the mind has been fully covered by God thought only, exclusive God remembrance. The result of which is serenity, peace of mind. So the question was whether does it help? Yes, it helps. How do we know that? The first few lines in the first chapter says how disturbed he was, and the last line says how peaceful. Many of you might be remembering in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also we get the same idea. During the first Vishada Yoga, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Arjuna gets totally confused, dispirited, dejected, disappointed, and he was the entire enthusiasm with which he started, it got punctured, as it were. And he said, I can't do anything. A desperate, frustrated state. And after 18 chapters, after the 18th chapter, or in the last chapter, the 18th chapter, when the Lord says, I have told you what all has to be told. Now it is for you to decide as to how you should go forward. At that time what he says? All my doubts have been cleared. All my confusion is over. And then I will do as ordained by you. Submission to the will of God. Here also Papa says submission, surrender to God. So we find a parallel between IQG and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Many Mahatmas used to mention Srimad Bhagavad Gita is also a manual of spiritual life. Where every chapter gives you something. Similarly, all our chapters will give something towards that which we are craving, that which we motivating us, pulsating us to have. So with this background we will move. So the next question is, what is the one supreme note and refrain of the voice that rings through the whole text of In Quest of God? There should be a thread, When you see a rosary, there is a thread connecting the beads. Similarly, these 37 beads are there in this rosary. And there is a connecting thread. What is that connecting thread? This is a normal question. Because then only I can form a proper concept and strive towards it. Now mark it. There are about 5 that came. There are so many, but these are the 5 that came up now. First is spontaneity of life. Born of egoless purity and innocence. All these 37 chapters when we go through this. Spontaneity. It is not a previously planned one, Spontaneity of life born of in egoless purity. The me and mine is not at all stepping there. And innocence. Second one, a consciousness of the indwelling and all-pervading God. Probably he may repeat it half a dozen times in one chapter itself. A consciousness of the indwelling and all-pervading God. And third one, a conscious effort to see Him in all. Let anybody come, let anything happen, let any objects come before Him. There is a conscious effort on His part to see Him in all. In all these 37 chapters. And an unconditional and cheerful acceptance of all situations, treating it as ordained by God. An unconditional and cheerful acceptance. It is not that somebody said and I am accepting it. No. It is not with any condition. Unconditional. Unconditional and cheerful acceptance of all that is happening as willed by God. And for an ordinary people like us, simple message, a positive approach in everything and acceptance. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, it should be stamped in our heart. But you may even note down, because this is the one supreme note and refrain that rings through the entire chapters of In Quest of God. Once again we will repeat, spontaneity of life, born of an egoless purity and innocence, number one. A consciousness of the indwelling and all-pervading God. This is very important. Papa keeps on highlighting this always. He will not simply say God, indwelling as well as all-pervading. And the third one is a constant effort to see Him in all. I keep on trying. And an unconditional and cheerful acceptance. As we go through each chapter by chapter, we will see what is this cheerful acceptance. Many of us would have shunned, and many of us would have ran away. But there is a cheerful acceptance of the situation, because everything is ordained by God. Nothing is to be eliminated. Nothing is to be avoided. Nothing is to be looked down upon. And the last one is always becoming positive in our approach. And then accept. So we move to the third question. What is the sustaining contributory factor for achieving the above? We have listed about 4 or 5, There should be a sustaining contributory factor. That should remind us of these 4 or 5, which I must hold on closely to my heart as an aspirant, as a sadhaka. It can be put in one word: constant remembrance of God. No other. I keep it as an ideal. If I start moving toward that ideal, all the 5 things which we have listed above will slowly become a part of my life. But I should not lose sight of this ideal. Ideal is constant God remembrance. That is the thread through which the entire 37 chapters of In Quest of God have been woven. To reach the above state, he stuck to. What did he do? Chanting of his holy and all-powerful Ram Nam, only that? No. Simultaneously meditating on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God. Through this question, Papa is answering that if the journey has to become successful, it has to have this two-winged approach. One is chanting, to keep us on track. The other one, in order to ensure that it doesn't become a superficial, lip-level, mechanical level, chanting activity, we should ensure that we should simultaneously contemplate upon the attributes, like He is the one who is making me to chant. He is the one who is seated within me. He is the one who is seated in everything. Everything means thoughts, words, deeds, everything. Initially it may be a repetition, verbal repetition, mental repetition. Doesn't matter. We have been asked to keep on hammering this so that it slowly percolates into our system and slowly start becoming a reality. It becomes a part of our life then. So whenever we meet with events and individuals, because during chanting time, okay, we may be trying this. Non-chanting time is more in our life, Chanting time can be limited to half an hour, 1 hour at best, People, God has given them enough preoccupation at family level, professional level, social level. So they will not be able to, or we will not be able to chant the whole time. Even in ashram, we will not be able to. He has given us so many duties to perform. So how do I maintain this constant remembrance through chanting? No, it's not possible, agreed. So then what do you do? While reacting to every events and individuals, while handling every activity, a portion of the mind should carry this. This is also being brought by him. Not merely the chanting. Somebody pats us on our back. Yes, he has brought. Somebody insults, so-called. Yes, there must be some reason. Probably I am not very clear in my presentation. Or he is having a biased outlook. No use of now trying. God is testing me through some, like that, there are so many dimensions through which we will be able to reconcile and get the pause moment in us, equanimity with us. There will be a balance always. This is very, very important. Whenever we are in doubt, just open one chapter. How did he react? The poise he could maintain. Because we are well rooted in constant God remembrance. That was why before reacting to anything, he was able to keep up that balance. So throughout this 37 chapters we find, every chapter gives us a clue to refine ourselves so that we will be able to react to events and individuals in a better way. In a better way, in a better way in the sense that will add a push to our spiritual journey. So we can safely call it, this book itself is a manual. So the next question comes in our mind. How can we take the text as a manual? Normally when we buy a gadget, some pamphlet, manual comes along with it. That will help us how to operate, how to take care, what are the precautions, whenever something is not right, how do we handle. Everything will be there in that small manual. So similarly, suppose we try to approach In Quest of God as a manual for our spiritual life. Every time, how do we adjust, readjust, place, replace, change our attitude, our actions, our thinking style. This is something very, very important. Then only, the whole purpose will be served. It might look like a theory, intellectual. So can this be made clear through an example? Another question comes. We suddenly remember, I think sometime during the early part of 2000, 15, 16 years back, we had a week-long Ramnam as well as Satsang program in a place called Anand in Gujarat. It was a wonderful, wonderful program. Many devotees from different places, different villages had come there. One group of people came from Sitpur. Unfortunately, they could not remain for the whole. So after 2 or 3 days, they had to return back. On the day of their returning, the portion covered in IQG was the Rameshwaram trip. There you will remember, when Papa and the Sadhuram was asked, they were asked to get down from the train by the TT because they were not carrying any tickets. Papa cheerfully accepted while the Sadhuram grumbled, naturally. And you know what Papa said? Remember that word? Pilgrimages normally are to be on foot. Here God has been completely, gracious enough to make us travel in the train up to this. Now we have only to cover 6 miles. A sublime point, it is hidden there. First is to approach it in the positive way. Second thing is not merely to satisfy our mind. A cushioning is given there so that the adversity is not at all there. Only 6 miles. Okay, this was elaborately discussed during that session. So the Sitpur party left in the evening. From Anand to one destination, they could get the bus. And from there to the Sitpur, the connection bus is also there. Next day they telephoned. When we reached that particular destination from where we have to get into another bus, we couldn't. We missed that bus. Then naturally, elders are there, children are there. Then he said, by Papa's grace, there was no grumbling. They only said, only 4 or 5 kilometers you have to walk. By this we can understand. It has been proved that it is a manual. You are hearing something from his life, and when you are confronted with God, is putting you in a situation where you can test it, and there you are motivated to hold on to that, and everybody was peaceful. Papas, that's only 6 miles, that made us to forget about all the problem. So every time when we are confronted with such situation, in quest of God is the mother who receives us openly. Come on. I will show you the way. If we go approach with that attitude, we will find the answer. Not merely a theory, but through an anecdote. It is something, it gets stamped in our heart. Hari Om.